Let's go. Got some music playing. Here we go. We should probably look at you guys over here, huh? All right. Let's make sure everything is running. Like my studio here. Let's go ahead and hit this button. Create broadcast. Post. I'm posting. We can even check our web pages, our social media. See if we are live. I think we are. That's pretty cool. I can return to my studio, turn our music down a little bit. Wow, what are we going to look at today? There's a lot going on. I have a feeling my dog is going to ask for some food any minute now. Go figure, as soon as the show starts. Maybe I can give him a treat instead. So, welcome to the Constant Companion Theory. I'm your host, Mr. Ed, at Tridactyls. You know, I'm one of the few ancient alien theorists out there that has actually been an archaeologist. I've been in the field, I've worked at several museums, and I've actually been a paleontology tech also. So I help the paleontologists do some, never in the field, but we did some lab work and I helped put dinosaurs together. I thought we'd start off right away with some important stuff, which are, I think, the eggs. Let me go turn on the music. I like to have it playing, but I think it's always too loud. If I can hear it and it's making me crazy, it's too loud. Of course, we are going to do a wonderful Tridactyl head giveaway. This is Josephina, so that's going to be neat. How cool is that? And what else? Maybe I'll get a chance to go to Peru. Won't that be cool? I'd love to see the bodies up close and personal. I may have to just open this window and let my DOG out. Let's see if that helps. Oh, he just hit the outside button. Let me let him out. Probably should have made sure that he was taken care of before we did the show, right, buddy? If you want to go outside, go. Then again, he has like 3 different buttons that communicate with, and I think he gets them confused, which is outside and which is about to hit it. Go ahead. So, how fun is that? I'll have to give the dog some snacks while I'm here talking to you guys. That's funny. So let's go ahead and look at the eggs. That's been on everybody's mind. Of course, the willful skeptics, and I say that there are willful skeptics out there that it almost seems as though, I mean, I hate to be paranoid, but it seems like they're, again, willfully ignoring some of this here. So here are some scans of the eggs. I was even wondering, if you can imagine, did I manage to catch the full frontal face of one of the beings? Or 2. As you can see, there are definitely shapes and masses in the eggs. You know, it's theorized that the eggs are asynchronous, I believe is the term, meaning that they're going to hatch at different times. So just like Artemis, there's a couple of eggs that appears as though some beings have breached the egg and are at the surface. That might be what's happening with this egg on the right. So in the left egg, there might be a relatively large being, which that could be an upside down head with eyes there. It's kind of almost looking like their face. And look at that scorpion-like tail up in the corner. Let me get off screen so you guys can see that a little bit better. And I can zoom in also, right? Oops, that's not the zoom. So there's the zoom. So that could be an upside down head. But look at that scorpion-like looking tail. I think that tracks with the mythology. Even at the Turkey site, it's a Çatalhöyük with the pillars there. You'll see some of the pillars have a scorpion down at the bottom. I think that some of the imagery on these pillars, these animal imagery, is trying to let the viewer know, hey, these beings had morphology of different types of animals. which is why you'll see again at those same Hayek pillars. I should have those available too, right? There's a cat-like head near the top of the pillar, as though to say it's cat-like in the head. And then there's some birds on the chest to say perhaps this is a furcula. But I want to know, did I catch the face of a tridactyl? Let's zoom in some more. I don't know. I think Gonzo is going to be happy about this one, Mr. Chavez. If I'm seeing what I think it could just be the top of the head, and just some pareidolia, because I see a crest here. So there's this dark line there that could be an eye. Let's also see if we play with the inversion, if that helps at all. Okay, it looks more like a body. So, again, it could be pareidolia. This is really hard. It's really hard to like see things here. I'm not an expert in this. Knowing that there are pig dragons, that the Chinese pig dragons were out there, it were these pig dragons that guided me when I first looked into Artemis. In fact, we can probably even take a peek at Artemis's egg. I'm sure some of you are like, I've seen this before. I know, but not everyone has. That's kind of the thing with social media. By the way, if you do see me right now, feel free to hit the chat. I should be able to see many of your comments in the chat, thanks to this restream, I hope. But we're going to look at Artemis egg again.
It's a specimen known as Artemis.
So on this digital imagery here, you can see that there are 3 eggs.
The eggs appears to be
one egg is like a mass, which could indicate that I've read that maybe these types of creatures could possibly be forming like a cocoon-like egg themselves within the body.
in a state of hatching. What one expects to find in the eggs of a tridactyl are pig dragons. Pig dragons were made by the Hongshan culture circa 3500 BC, give or take 1,000 years.
So here we have the CT scans of the eggs, and you can see that, there's some people saying that these are rocks. That's what I'm saying about willful skeptics, because if you see this and think they're rocks, I don't know, man. And then you're going to say that out in public. I mean, one guy who was a Galactopithecus, I think he's a published biological anthropologist, and when pressed on, he suggests that Maria has 2 digits that are removed. When pressed on that and asked, how did the extra phalanges get there? Keep in mind, because the smaller beings have an extra phalange in us, so another phalange longer, and then the big hands has an additional phalange to that. Wow. Let's take a look at this some more.
Oh, is that one there?
Okay, so
let's follow that anomaly, that appendage off of the large massive egg.
Serpentine head that's coming from Artemis's massive egg.
We have the upper view, looking down. We're looking upwards at its chin. Is that a face of a tridactyl feature? Circa.
Let's
Oh, is that one there?
Let's
follow
this
that
face.
Anomaly, that appendage off of the large massive egg. There it goes. We have the upper view, looking down. We're looking upwards at its chin. Is that a face of a tridactyl?
Okay, so here we go. So we have a face. It's turned. I'm trying to do it backwards. Right? It's turning kind of like this. Okay, so I'm trying to match it. I don't know, am I doing it? Let's compare that though to the one we were just looking at on Luisa, right? And we'll go back to that. And there we go. And we'll go back to the inverted filter here. Okay. So is that the same kind of face? Do we have an eye up here? Is this the snout and the mouth? I don't know. It looks kind of awfully large to be doing that. Let's go ahead and go through the images with this and see what it does. And I'll go ahead and go to full screen here and see if we can follow that image around. There we go. And here's what I suggest. Could be a face, could be a serpentine from the side. And then we have another serpentine shape here, very reminiscent of some other scans. So you can kind of watch these serpentine shapes move around the egg. Yeah. So I really look forward to more of this type of imagery. So we want to talk a little bit about these eggs. What else can we say about these beings? I suggest they're amphibian. If they don't have lungs, that means they have cutaneous respiration. Someone made a 3D version of the Tridactyl. Oh yeah? Oh, like you mean the computer graphic one? You want to show that? Let's look at that. Okay, so we got gear fans here giving me a reminder. We've got some other cool stuff to look at. So why don't we go ahead and look at that? Yeah, someone made a groovy graphic, and I think we should share it. Thanks, Gear, for the reminder. Okay, I want to share this nice graphic. So that's a good thing about turning in to us here at Tridactyls. We do try to keep up with the news and what's going on. Check this out. You just want to win the head, Gears. Oh, great. So they made, looks like 6 minutes of this where they change the eyes. Playing with different coloring. I've been trying to do more human eyes. Like they're explaining the method they use. Going through the trials and error. Using a program he made with ChatGPT back when it was more capable. Interesting. So we are talking about these beings being amphibian with cutaneous respiration. That should be part of the clue. Of course, the tridactylism itself is actually a clue, believe it or not. We do have some frogs and salamanders on the planet with 3 appendages there, 3 fingers, digits. So here we go, adding it to Blender. Yes, someone says, I expect them to be more plump, says Sebastian. I agree. I tried with, never really completed it. I probably have some prototypes using, might even be the same. No, it's not the same program, but clay. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if they had the webbing. I feel like I would have seen that along the way. Maybe there was a couple of depictions of webbing I can think of. A kappa. The kappa of Japanese might show some webbing. But that's a good point, yeah. I'm sure a lot of us are thinking that. I mean, I'm also thinking that this bipedal that we're seeing might not be accurate and might just be a depiction. They definitely, with their wrist bones, they seem to have the ability to become quadrupeds. This is great. I love having this new thing. Thanks, Gears, for reminding me. I was planning on showing this, but I did forget. Can you break your comments? I do like to share them so people can see them. We got Sebastian on Facebook, Gear fans on Facebook. We're going to be giving away a Tridactyl head today. We should probably, since Sebastian is here, we should probably give him a number so that he can get a chance to win, and give Gear another chance to win since he's here today. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to show you guys the numbers. Those of you that have been playing along, we will be giving away a head. I'm going to stop this thing. So you can find that on Reddit. I don't know where else they posted it. Turn down the music. I'll just turn that up really for the alien thing. Cool. Let's see. Any more chats? Yeah, so maybe these guys had webbing on their foots and fingers. On their feet, on their feet and hands. Maybe they had webbing. Let's go ahead and share a new screen. Head numbers. All right. Okay. They probably can't see it. I'll get off of there. All right. So these are the current numbers. And Gears and Sebastian, you're welcome to choose an empty number. Try to win a head today. Legends of Fishbill. Yep. This is one of the things that propelled me in Mesopotamia. Can you explain your theory of the implant on the foot? I don't have a theory on the implant on the foot, do I? What's my implant theory on the foot? But I need you gentlemen to pick a number if you want to win. Want to increase 1% chance to win a head today. I really should have fed the dog ahead of time. Yeah, I don't think I have a specific implant theory. I saw someone else maybe was posting something earlier. You know, the big hand has implants in the palm, which reminds me of some of the Native American depictions of what look like hands with eyes in them. Can't see the number. Pick a number and maybe we'll have it open for you. All right, Gears, you got 99. We got 73 through 92 open. We got 20 through 28 open. 53 through 60. Pick a number. I'll see if I got it. I can try to make it larger. How about that? I say that. A little bigger. 10. 10's open. All right, Sebastian Farron. Awesome. All right, we can put this away for now. Cool. I also wanted to bring up probably one of the earliest, most important papers, in my opinion, is the Cliff Miles paper. If you don't know it. Now, he, of course, I realize that he is quoting Galicki, I believe is the name. And that report, the Galicki report, is on Tridactyls.org. so you can get that. So it's interesting. Miles, who I cite, is like probably my most important influence because he's the one that taught me about the furcula and the Australia. Although Zalce Benitez may have mentioned the furcula also during Congress. And so let's see here. Oh, we got another chat happen. Let's see. Yes, sir. I need a theory. What the implant on the foot was possible for? Like, oh, in general, an implant on the foot? I don't even know. I haven't really looked at the foot implant. You know, it's like the chest implants that Luisa and Josephina have seem to be related to the eggs. And Artemis has a lot of implants also. She's an egg bearer. So it makes me think that maybe the ovoviviparity, when the babies were born with inside, perhaps there was some difficulty in the birthing process, and maybe they had to go in there and operate. And so your first cesarean sections, perhaps these larvae, unfortunately maybe crawled up to the skull at times. And so that's our origins of trephination. Going into the skull to remove an evil spirit. In Egypt, they have a big thing about your ka, your soul. And I think a lot of our cosmology is really just based on the biological happenings of an amphibian species. Amphibian lifeways spawned religion. So I don't know about the foot in particular. Of course, the ones on the hands could be like the Philip Schneider thing, where they move it and they're able to do things with it. Or they could be like the Bob Lazar and the UFO, and maybe the hand implants control the ship. Let's look at the Miles paper, because there's always good pictures in the Miles paper, guys. Let's keep that in mind. Now, can I make this any bigger for you? You know what? I think because this is set on, I could probably change this. It's set for TikTok. I wonder if that's something I can do immediately. And probably something I have to do at the start. That's why it looks so small, I think, because I got it on the big screen. But anyway, we'll look at the pictures, and the pictures are fun. And so can we get bigger, though, anyway, just for our audience? I don't know. Everything looks different sometimes. On a difference. Here we go. Yeah, feel free if you ever see me struggling, be like, it's the buttons down there. We make this even more visually stunning. Yeah, it's hard. I don't know. I should have probably thought about this ahead of time. I'm not really sure about the Adobe. Let's see. Someone said, here we go. Here's a quote from Gear again. Someone said they were born pregnant. Yeah, that's me, actually. I'm saying that because when I first looked into Artemis's eggs last year, I guess, I did screenshot little tiny eggs. People dismissed it as, well, we're born with, testicles and ovaries. Some of us both, some of us neither, maybe. So it wasn't that unusual. But looking into it, these eggs within the larva look as though they're already in a process of developing. These things are the perfect Genesis creatures. They are panspermia in form. Now keep in mind, all these things, we can look at them now. We have our what you call it on this screen there, implant. Looks groovy, doesn't it? I mean, how long I've been staring at that picture for so long, just that blue. In fact, I think it's on my screensaver on my phone. So what can we see on these guys? Just going through. Someone said earlier, who was it? Sebastian, they probably had a little bit more meat on their bones, huh? These guys look hungry. So yeah, the Miles paper showing you some classic pictures of Josephina and Alberto, I believe it is. And gives them all numbers so we can talk about them. For example, number 3 is the one I suggest that has see, I'd like to zoom in. Is this it here? There we go. So number 3 is the one I suggest has a carving into the top of its head there. little hard to see in this picture, better in some others with light. I suggest that this guy might have carving on his head right in here. So what are we talking about? We're just going through the Miles paper. I wanted to see if we can get into some of the furcula, the gastralia, because what's the importance of having a furcula that a bird has, a gastralia that a crocodilian has, 3 fingers that an amphibian has, cutaneous respiration says this thing is retaining traits from an amphibian stage, and it also has these other traits, furcula and gastralia, which means it didn't likely retain the cutaneous respiration and then develop these later. It was probably the opposite. It had all these traits, and these traits were then passed on to other beings. I've been saying this for a long time. You know, if you know the Tao, from the 1 comes the 2, from the 2 comes the 3, and that's implying this parthenogenesis. You want virgin birth? Parthenogenesis. A mother goddess gave birth without the help of anyone. You know these things. Don't you see the cosmology, the religion of the world is now being collaborated with this? So yeah, he's got the Adam and Eve story. The Adam and Eve story, there's something there, right? Adam has his rib taken out. So now, like, is the rib actually an analogy for the being? Was Artemis Adam? Was Artemis Dionysus? Sebastian's definitely on people's minds. They like the kitty ones, the hybrid, the more significantly hybrid children. I'm more about Josephina and all those, because I believe those were the actual deities. And the hybrids were just our first priest kings, our first shaman. They were the ones interacting in between us and them. Yeah. I did some nice Photoshop on this head here today. I just tweaked it a wee bit, and boy, that green popped out. So this guy here, this is no diatomaceous earth. And we probably should just look at my my one on TikTok, because again, I just tweaked it a little tiny bit, and the green just popped like crazy. And why is that important to me? As a xenoanthropologist, I'm taking that term. Yes, I am. And that's just the way it goes. We're going to look at this close up now of a tridactyl head free of the diatomaceous earth. And my God, look at that green coming through. Do you believe that? That is incredible. So why is that incredible? Because I suggest that the greenstone and jade are the official color stones for this phenomenon. Or was Eve the egg? Yeah, I mean, Eve was probably, I think Eve was probably the larva, and he had to cut into Adam. Take that rib out. Maybe they took the gastralia out, right? That's probably what happened with Artemis, right? She's got a lot of segments in the front there. Oh, look, I got my friend calling. I should just answer while he's here. And be like, I'll just tell him he's on the air. Hey, Bill Collier, you're on the air at Tridactyls, the constant companion theory. I thought I'd just answer the phone, or you could just go to YouTube and watch me, or somewhere.
Are you on live right now?
I'm live right now, streaming on X, YouTube, Facebook, Kick, and what was the other one?
So these people know that I have called you?
Yeah.
Prank call!
Goodbye. That was fun. Hey, listen, you're talking about the eggs and hydration. What if these guys are just some sort of sea monkeys? Hey, I want to give a shout out to Strange Owl. You know, she has a great idea about these limbs. These limbs, but people are looking at the limbs and they're like, this doesn't make sense. But it doesn't make sense because they're trying to compare it to human morphology. And these are obviously mostly amphibian with some primate morphology. So the wrist bones indicate these guys could be walking on their forearms, so they could be quadrupedal. And there was some other thing about them. I don't know. What if we can rehydrate them? Oh, the limbs. Yeah, the limbs. So the limbs are kind of weird. So there's plenty of depictions in the archaeological record of the limbs being strange. So what Strange Owl has suggested is, what if these limbs are hydrostatic, I believe is the term, something more akin to a mollusk or a cephalopod, or maybe even a spider. So that's interesting. And I wouldn't put it past them because they tend to have these morphological traits that create a brand new clade. I'm suggesting the clade of Naga-lomorpha. Yeah, why Naga-lomorpha? Because I believe these are the Naga. And we're going to get into the cultural stuff today. Let's do a little bit more of a sneak peek. Let's look more at Miles's paper. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm glad I had that coffee before here. Of course, it's probably going to keep me up later and I'll be cursing. Okay. So, yeah, greenstones, guys. Look for those, the Maori. Look for the Heitiki and the Paumanu, I believe this. Pamo? The greenstones. I'll just say greenstones. All right, we got some Albert here. I'm not sure about what that means, about the displaced pyramid. And on that, there's the back of the skull. Here's Josephina. She's calling it a pre-maxillary plate. That's interesting. Here's Galicki. So Galicki doesn't get a lot of credit, and I'm thinking maybe we should talk more about Galicki. I know we don't talk enough about Miles. Yeah, we can't compare it to human, and I even say we can't fully compare it to amphibian. They're like proto-amphibians. I'm just feeding my dog snacks here the whole time. So we got to give old Miles credit. I think this guy needs more credit. Galicki, I'm not real super familiar with him. I'm saying his name wrong. Galecki? I'm skipping the T there. All right. Of course, these have these interesting sort of these lateral sinuses, Miles calls them. Very similar to you might see on a snake. That's maybe part of the reason why they might be compared to serpentines. I don't think they're fully bipedal, actually. I think they can switch. I think, again, by the wrist bones, it kind of it seems like I think by the wrists, it looks like they're quadrupeds. I'm sure they can go right into the water quite easily. I do believe they have saline lake origins in the Himalayas, where some of our most religious places are on the planet. What else are we covering today? I want to make sure everything. I wanted to talk eggs. We want to talk cultural stuff. So let's wrap this up. The Miles paper. Let's look at the furcula and the Gastralia. I don't know if he's got good Gastralia picks. He might be able to talk about the Euro style too. So bones here, I suggest, and we do have Luisa for that. I suggest Luisa has a Euro style, which is something you would find in a salamander or a frog. Yeah, so they could probably do both. You know, this bipedal positions might have been just placed there for religious purposes. You know, maybe even that's how some of them got even damaged. You know, if you look at the way the Egyptians would bury the cats, they would bury the cats in a vertical position, break their limbs. It's like, okay, that's not the way a cat looks like. Why would they bury the cat like that? So, yeah, we'll have to see more about that morphology for sure. We're trying to get to some Miles here. We're halfway through the show. That's not bad. I try to do an hour show when I can. If I'm tired, I'll just do a half hour. All right, let's look at, we're just trying to get through Miles' paper here because I want to be able to look at furculas and maybe look at it. I don't know if he's got good Gastralia shots in there. Okay, looks like we're looking down through the form. You can see, actually, you can see the furcula from this profile right here. That bone coming out. Teardrop-shaped neural spines. I think that's leading to what I consider the possibly a Euro style down at the bottom where the tail likely was. So if they don't have a cossack and they don't have a navel and they have a Euro style structure of an amphibian, that suggests that they had tails. Maria may have been a mermaid. Yeah. Now, yeah, the ones with those, they're calling them wings. I don't like that term at all. I think those appendages, so there's the two curved appendages on the back coming off of the so-called insectoids. I don't like that term either. How about xenomorphs? That's kind of cool. Maybe if we can all get to agree what these things are, we can come up with better names. I suggest, though, that those might be for thermal regulation, buoyancy, and perhaps cutaneous respiration assistance. So imagine if those things did all three of those. They help the critter float in the water. You get some heat source and maybe some extra breathing. Yeah, Maria's the most realistic, and I think that's why a lot of people went with Maria as the main focus. I was never that interested in Maria. Again, because I'm going with Miles and I'm looking at all these pictures from Miles, and it's like, how can you not say this is a real thing, right? And this guy's a paleontologist, a published paleontologist. So, okay, that's what I was looking for. That's a great shot of the old furcula. Let's take a look at that. And that looks like in the specimen Victor Victoria, which might just be a named specimen from our shared history. Wouldn't that be neat? Nice shot of the furcula found in birds, typically. At the back of the beings. I mean, look at that structure there. Isn't that interesting? The scapular structure. Look at that. Yeah, I do want to just add clay to it, right? And I have done a little bit of work trying to recreate them. But really, graphics is not actually my forte. So let's get into the cultural stuff. I think that's enough of the bodies today. If you want to see something specific, you can always give a shout out, like here says. What else? We're talking the cultural stuff. I made just a couple of slides here. So I wanted to remind everyone that one of the reasons I am so passionate about this, besides the fact that I have a degree in anthropology, I have been an archaeologist, I have worked in museums, but more importantly, I recognize these beings from a class. 2002 anthropology class on the Americas. And I had pointed out to my prof, I said, hey, are these petroglyphs in Canada and these petroglyphs in the Caribbean related? Professor said, no, they're not related. Just a coincidence. Independent innovation. Well, I look back now and I don't think he was correct. Because when I saw the bodies presented to the Mexican Congress, it immediately lit up my neurons and I recalled the petroglyphs of the Caribbean. Let's just take a look at some of those. I just put them on a little slide for today. Really, if you want to find these, you want to go to the, let's see, what's the name of the website? Messages de la nature.ek.la. Might be able to share that later. My dog wants to eat proper food. I just keep giving him snacks. Always feed your dog before your live stream. Note to self. All right, let's share these cultural pictures so we can maybe start wrapping up and maybe give a headaway tonight. Tonight might be the night that we actually do it. Okay. Having trouble finding it. Didn't expect that, did we? That would come up right away. Okay, I'll just put it on the screen here. It seems to be working. How is everyone tonight? Thank you for joining in. Thanks for believing, because there's a lot of people accusing people of grifting and making money. I'm like, how are people making money? It's really costing people money. I mean, buy a t-shirt, please. Go to Tridactyls.com. You can get one of these groovy polos. There's my grift. I'm getting filthy rich off of t-shirt sales. I hate starting projects because like every project I do, it's like, we got to make a t-shirt. Let's see. First, I'm having trouble zooming in and stuff. I should probably keep things on my big screen, and we got to worry about maybe changing this setup so it doesn't have that narrow TikTok window. Let's see, does this help? Dun, dun. Yeah, a little technical difficulties. Some days you wish you had like do we have a producer here? This will have to do. And I can see if I can make it bigger on the other screen here. Okay, that kind of works, right? Maybe. Let's see, let me get back to my control panel here too. I keep losing stuff. Anyway, what do we have here? We've got some tridactyl figures. We have some cordiform shaped heads. We have some mother goddess imagery in either their positioning or perhaps even images of youth, children being born, children in the chest as though protected. I mean, I suggest here, you're going to think this is crazy. Well, of course, if you don't think if you don't think everything is crazy, I suggest that the little, were you able to see any of that? Let me show it again. There we go. Keep me up there. Yeah, you guys can't see anything. It's too small. I suggest that this one here, oh, it's so small, sorry. This mother goddess has like a child on her chest, and very reminiscent of the Sphinx, very reminiscent of Amun statues, where it has the pharaoh there, and it's very similar. And I don't know if you guys can see it because it's awfully small. Well, note to self, the slideshow is a good idea, but I think I needed to implement it a little bit better, especially with this. Well, see, now we got a bigger screen since I'm watching stuff on that screen. That's good to know. Okay, cultural stuff. What else can we say about the cultural stuff? It was those heads, though, in the Caribbean and in the Taino people that made me say, hey, there is something here, which of course led me to the Maori, led me to the Japanese Dogu. I think that's good. I think I've talked enough today. If you have any questions, go ahead, drop me a line. Let's see if there's any good things in the chat. Let's see. You were the culmination of what I wanted to go for. Are you talking about xenoanthropology? Let's see. So a vertebrae in the spine. Looks like none in the neck. Okay, so that's interesting. So I'm glad you brought that up, actually. It turns out that these guys, they don't have, since they don't have a sternum, I guess. So while we lack lack ribs as we get towards the pelvis, they lack ribs from up top. And it becomes more circular as they go down, more enclosed. Yeah, so that's like an opposite of ours. Let's see what we got here. Don't let them miss my, yeah, right. Well, you know what? I think the cat's out of the bag with this one. People talk about like trying to stop disclosure. Right now, at this point, we're just fighting what might be this. And now there's a post on Reddit that is suggesting that there is a coordinated plan for people to, I mean, I would never think like this, to be honest. There's a coordinated plan to bury this stuff. Yeah, anthropology and archaeology. You know, I was doing some acting. I had made a commercial with Mr. T. I had made a film with Eva Longoria. And I was like, I don't want to major in theater. Let me major in something I like. And the one class I got an A in my whole life was Anthropology 101. So why not go with what you know? And people ask, what are you going to do with that? I said, work in a museum. And I did. I did work in a museum. And there's plenty of cool stories to go there. Okay, I do have to open my Roll20 if there's any D&D players out there. I got to open my Roll20 because that's where I have the dice to roll. We are going to do our giveaway today. Now, if you do win, I hope you please share on social media that you got this from. I'm still trying to get his food. Yeah, buddy. Ready? Go get it. I'm just like throwing handfuls of snacks so he can eat those. But if you do win, be sure to, hey, share. Let everybody know where you got this thing from, right? All right, let's share our Roll20 screen so we can get to some fun stuff. Let's see. Let's get another quote up here. Yeah, tubular in form, which maybe could encourage that hydrostatic stuff that Strange Owl was suggesting. Maybe that helps because I read too. Guess what it helps with? It helps with respiration. So there's no lungs, so maybe it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's circular. In fact, I suggest it's omega shaped. It is just like their face is very unique. I think much of their morphology was incorporated into human culture. Yeah, they didn't want to scare them with the ET vibes, so they definitely went with Maria. But when you really look at Maria, she's pretty spooky. The little ones, everyone seems to think are the fake because I think they're the most strange. That's what really happened. Oh boy, we're getting ready. I think I like that version better. Okay, let's get our list of winners, potential winners, right? Who are our potential winners? And of course, I don't have the list ready. Guys, I have like too many windows open, to be honest. I really should just do the show with like one window and just call it a day. Okay, I don't know what you guys can see. Are you ready? Let's see, let's get another quote up there. I believe they don't want to scare the population with ET vibe, but ET was fun. ET was a good guy. Which is part of my theory, right? If these beings are associated with the heart shape and the mother goddess and ancestor worship and creator beings and fertility symbols, how bad are they? We probably shouldn't even use us and them anymore. It's just us. Okay, here we go. I'm going to roll a D100. I have a feeling tonight's the night somebody's going to win. Here we go. D100 live on the screen. 69. 69. I think somebody has that number. I do. Where is it? Let's put it up on the board so everybody can witness it together. Right? I think somebody has 69. Let's see. Dave Rizzo. Dave Rizzo is our first Tridactyl head winner. How incredible. I can't remember where Dave Rizzo is on. Look, he has a couple of numbers. Yeah, he had a couple of chances. 69-1. Wow. How cool is that? Well, congratulations, Mr. Rizzo. I can't wait to send this out to you. We're going to have to perhaps, let's see, what can we do with that? Maybe color it. Color it blue. So Dave Rizzo won. I think we're going to have to run this again. What do you think? And maybe give another one of these heads away. That would be fun. I do have new heads, but I have to paint them. Of course, if someone wants to, they could just take a white one and paint it themselves. The next heads, now this is like a gray, so it's almost like It's almost like the diatomaceous earth came off a little bit. But the next ones are probably going to be green in the style of that head I showed tonight. Yeah, congratulations. These are fun. I'm definitely going to do my best to give away more of these just because why not, right? Okay, that has been Tridactyls and the constant companion theory. I believe these beings are basal tetrapods, meaning they have biological traits that puts them deep into the geological record. And I also believe that I have demonstrated that in the cultural narrative, these beings were considered deities. The birth of cosmology, the birth of religion and mythology, all from the amphibious lifeways of our ancestors. Live long and prosper.